what up, H-Town? It's Mo here with the Houston Dynamo and another episode of Kickin' It. Now, over the last few weeks, we've been able to talk to a few players from both the Dynamo and the Dash. And the point of this show is to really get to know the players, the men and women in orange who hold it down on the pitch week in and week out for this city. And we do that in 3 segments. The first segment, the first kick, that's where we pinpoint a topic and go into depth with that player. Second, socially awkward. That's where we pick 3 pieces of social media and we ask some questions and hopefully get some anecdotes. And last but not least, in these crazy times, we've got to know what's helping them get through it, or what are their quarantine essentials. And this episode right here, I've been looking forward to. And without further ado, Mr. Ivy League himself, Mr. Mullet, Tommy Mac. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of Kickin' It. Today we've got the one, the only, back with his long hair, Tommy McNamara. How's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into it, into our first segment. It's called the first kick, and usually we do something with the players where we kind of talk about a passion off the pitch. But with you, I want to do something just a little bit different, partially for my own selfish desires here, because I've spent a handful of time in New York on and off again, in my life, in my adult life, and I love that place so much. I love the culture. I love everything about it. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about growing up in and around the city and kind of living your professional, years there as an adult, a young adult there, and kind of just the cultural aspects of all of that. As far as you as a person, how did New York shape you growing up, an Irish Catholic there? Just culturally, was there any music, any food that kind of just sticks out, reminds you of home, that kind of helped shape you?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, like you said, I grew up in a very Irish town. I grew up like 25 minutes outside of New York City, in a very Irish town. And so that was kind of, that was, our heritage was very important to us and very important to the town. And so, grew up with the St. Patrick's Day parade, going to mass, meat and potatoes. So that was my growing up. As for New York City, when you live there, you kind of, you don't do the touristy things. So when I was growing up, I didn't really go into New York very much. It was like a big trip if we did. Other than playing soccer, I played a lot of soccer in New York City, but that was going in, go play a game and come back.
Was there anything as a young adult? I mean, I know for me culturally, first time I heard UGK or anything like that, it was yeah, that's cool, But even for me, hearing stuff from New York, because it was so just influential from this forever, from disco days to Run DMC to everything. Is there any music that you heard where you're just yo, that's just 25 minutes away, this is dope?
It was the Bronx especially, and there's a lot of hip hop that comes out of the Bronx, and the Bronx is right over the water basically from where I grew up. And when I was playing in New York City FC, Yankee Stadium's in the Bronx, and so it's part of New York City and it's a part of Bronx. And as a kid, I would say that I mean, of course, I enjoyed music and enjoyed food, but I was never really I wasn't super passionate and into it. But I think what was really cool for me was when I came back and played for New York City. I lived a couple years in New York City, and I really kind of found more of a passion in music, in the culture of the city, even a little bit into fashion. And those are things that were just not really me growing up. So it was cool to kind of explore that as an adult in such a mecca of a city.
Yeah, no, I mean, even as someone, I'm born and raised here in Houston, but even then, I've spent months at a time out in New York, so I totally understand what you mean. Just being around all of that, the hustle and bustle, and every time I went there, it was always all right, well, where are we at? Okay, the studio's over here. Let's go make some music, or let's go eat at this place. Let's go do that. And it was all that. It was all my friends that were engulfed in the culture, kind of, hey, no, don't go to that place. Go to this place. Don't do that. That's what the tourists do. We're going to show you this, So that's amazing. So that had to have been incredible, playing soccer just down the road professionally from where you grew up and engulfing yourself in that culture. Was there, any specific subcultures or anything that kind of stuck out to you? And I know I saw a video of you sporting some Timbs one time, eating some pizza. So I know that definitely hits you, but is there anything else?
No, I mean, I don't know. I worked in New York City too as a kid, like not a kid, but throughout my college years, I worked construction. So I'd be up in the morning. I worked in the Bronx. I worked in the Upper East Side. And so like I kind of in my summers and in even in the winters and the breaks. And so I kind of got that side of it too, like being not being a professional athlete, being a person that's working every day. And it was cool. It was cool. There's a lot of, I mean, obviously, as everybody knows, there's so many different places in New York. And it was cool for me when I was playing there to kind of go explore and go to different concerts, go to different restaurants that, like I said, when I was a kid, I didn't really care to go to concerts. It wasn't a thing for me. I didn't really care where we ate or what we ate. But when I got there and was living in New York City proper, then it was like a thing to do. And it was, enjoyable to kind of go check out artists that you never heard of at like a small venue in Brooklyn or something like that.
I was born and raised maybe like 30 minutes just south in a place called Rosenberg. Same way, my dad is a construction worker. So summers and weekends, like I'd be out with him in Houston working and sweating in the heat here. But you see things and you're like, oh man, like this isn't like my small town, like this is a little different. And then especially now as an adult living here, being a professional, creative professional, in my passion, I start to experience different things like you're saying, like all the things that you start to develop passions for. Oh, this city's known for this city's known for that. Now that you're here in Houston, have you started to like find things like that here as well, like dipping your toes into the culture? And B, if you haven't, do you need any suggestions?
I mean, I'm definitely always for suggestions. Yeah, I definitely dip my toes into the culture here. I moved here obviously last year, like January of last year. And so I want to immerse myself into the club and into the city and into the fans. And I think it's important to, go explore the city if you're going to do that and you're going to be true to that. And so, I've definitely gone out and seen some things, and it's different than New York, but it's been cool. Like, it's so nice that the weather's so nice for a lot of the year. Obviously, the summer it gets pretty hot, but especially from like when I got here in January all the way until about June, like you can be outside all the time. And so I've, like been around the stadium, like the bars out there, how they all have like outdoor access, and you can be outside all the time. And like we checked out the Rustic on downtown and just like popped in and just, I don't even know, just a band was playing. It was just live music. So it's cool, kind of like, I don't even necessarily know the places to go that well, but I just kind of pop around and see what comes up.
It's a big little city is the way I say. Like it's got this chillness and slowness to it, but it's also got the hustle and bustle of people just trying to make things happen. I'm glad you realized that. That's super cool. Any other places that you've been to, or any concerts you've been to, anything like that around Houston?
No, I haven't been to any other concerts, but no, I've noticed as well, just like even around my neighborhood, there's a bunch of different like artist exhibits and things like that. And so I don't know, it's cool. Like, as you mentioned, coming from New York, everybody knows about New York. And Houston, I didn't really have a great idea. I knew it was kind of a big city, but I didn't really understand it. And, for me to get to be able to live here, it gave me the opportunity to really get to understand the city. And I've enjoyed it so far. And there's a lot that the city has to offer that's not really out in the mainstream so much. And so it's been enjoyable kind of exploring that. Exploring the art exhibits that have been like around the block.
Where do you live?
I'm in Upper Kirby, like right next to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to live there. That's dope.
Kirby and just off of Kirby. I don't know the names, to be honest. I can't remember, but.
Did you go to Color Factory when it was right there?
I haven't been. We were gonna go, but then the whole quarantine happened and stuff. Yeah, there's a couple of them around here. So yeah, it's been cool. Go down, checked out the beach down in Galveston. I got to wear a lot of sunscreen, but I do like the beach a lot. Growing up, that was something that we did every summer. So it's kind of nice being like an hour from the beach. So yeah, it's been enjoyable. I just, wish that I could kind of build on last year. I saw a little bit, not a whole lot, because trying to get my bearings and playing and stuff. But I feel a lot more comfortable this year. And so, I feel like there's more opportunity to see even more.
Tommy, it's great talking to you about culture and the New York culture and kind of transitioning into developing and understanding Houston culture. And with that, we're going to go ahead and segue to our second segment, Socially Awkward. That's where I went ahead and I creeped on your Instagram and I chose 3 photos that I'm gonna really need you to either explain or give an anecdote on. And I mean, I use explain loosely. Like, if anybody shouldn't judge, it's me, because I think I post so many weird things all the time. But I got 3. So we'll start off with this first one real quick. This one right here, it's you.
Got it.
Sporting some Clemson. And I know that you were only at Clemson for a year, right?
Yeah. So I graduated Brown in the middle of my senior year. And then I transferred that January, what would have been my senior spring. And I started a graduate year that January, and then finished up the calendar year December, and then was drafted that subsequent January.
Did you ever finish up that graduate degree?
I only got 3 classes left, but they want me to do it on campus. So I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe try to transfer it or something. I need to. I mean, I'm close, but not yet.
I think the main thing I wanted to focus on is were you at the end of the year? I know at one point you were, but at the end of the year, were you the leading scorer on the team?
I think so, or maybe had the most goals and assists, or was up there. No, I had a really good year, and it was really beneficial, and I really enjoyed it. And it was so cool. Like, it was a great experience for me to go from, like, the Northeast Ivy League school and what you get with that, to then going down to a Southern school. I never lived in the South before. College football, huge, you know what I mean? You got, like, there's farms around the outside of campus and stuff. So it was just totally different. Frats, sororities was a huge thing. So it was like, I was really lucky to kind of get these 2 totally different college experiences.
I know people attribute your superpowers on the pitch to your hair, but I think specifically at Clemson, it had to do with your mullet. Can you tell me a little bit about that, man? Like, what sparked that? And not only what sparked it, but what incited you to keep it?
Yeah. So I had my hair long like this from like when I got to Clemson, so that spring and then over the summer, and then I got back to Clemson for preseason in August, and it was just brutally hot. And I'd been saying when I grew my hair long that whenever I cut it, I'm gonna cut it into a mullet, like just for a day, because I always kind of had different hairstyles in college. So I was like, I'll just cut it for like one day, just messing around. And it was too hot to have my long hair in Clemson in August, so then I cut it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep it. And then it just kind of became my thing, and I didn't really think too much of it. And then I kept it during the combine, for the MLS combine. And honestly, it wasn't planned at all, but it became like a huge like strength for me, because everybody was like, why's this kid got a mullet? Like, why does he have a mullet? You know what I mean? And it made me stand out. And then they would watch and they'd be like, oh, like now we start paying attention to him. You know what I mean? And so it kind of became this thing. And it wasn't planned at all, but it really kind of just worked out in my favor, luckily.
Second photo I chose, it's this one right here.
Yeah.
Santa Claus days, man. What's up with this? Explain a little bit.
No, that's one of my best friends, Kevin. We went to Brown together, played soccer together all 4 years. And so he moved straight after college. He moved to New York City, and he was living and working there. And so when I got back to the city, it was nice to kind of get to be with him again. And he had been in the city for like 2 years at that point. And so he knew a lot of places to be and things to do. And so it was great to have him. And as for that, there's a big SantaCon every year. And I don't know, I'm not really into those things so much, but like a bunch of friends from college were kind of doing it, and it was a thing. It was in the off season. So I was like, you know what, like I'll go be a part of it or whatever. And so just kind of went with the flow on that one.
Just a whole bunch of people dressed as Santa Claus getting like hammered.
Yeah, it's kind of a nightmare across the city. But I don't know, I was just kind of like, you know what, I'll try it once. I've never done it. It's not something I normally would do. So I was like, I'll go be a part of it this one time.
All right, the last one, and this is a little shout out to some fellas, and I alluded to it earlier, but can you tell me about the day that you spent in Thames going around New York trying out pizza?
Yeah, that's with the Cooligans. 2 great people, Christian and Alexis. They're comedians.
Shout out.
Yeah, comedians. They're both based in New York City. I think Alexis might be from Newark though, or something. But yeah, they're good people. It's kind of cool to see their rise, because they were trying to break into soccer when New York City came in 2015, and that was the first year I was there. And so kind of got like introduced to them in that first year, because they wanted to do some stuff, and you're like, you don't really hear of them. You're like, oh, what's up? And then we kind of connected because we were all both from New York. They like soccer, we like soccer. And so then it was cool to see them over the next like 4 years, and while I was at New York City, their reputation kind of grew in the soccer world, and they've become like doing more and more. And kind of to get to know them before all that, and before I really like took off in New York City myself, it's been great. They're cool people. I had a lot of fun. It was just kind of like Alexis. He used to do pizza tours in New York, so we went to a couple of different spots, and I don't know. I wear the Timbs. Just it's a New York thing because the winters it's cold. Like you need snowshoes, and they're kind of like snowshoes. Like
Piggybacking off of that, so these guys, they're do they still do comedy? Do you know? Are they still?
Yeah, they're still doing comedy. I want to go check out one of their shows. I haven't been able to yet, but yeah, they're still doing comedy, but they're doing more stuff with soccer. They got their own show on Fubo Sports, I believe, kind of like a soccer show. They get guests on and stuff, so it's cool. Talked to them not too long ago. Like, glad they're doing well. I kind of consider them my friends, and it's cool the people you get to meet in this industry. Yep.
Sweet. We just dug a little bit into some social media with Tommy Mac. And last but not least, we've got to know, Tommy, with these crazy times, man, with spending so much time at home, what's kind of helped you get through it? What are your quarantine essentials?
The television, for sure. And I'm lucky to have a balcony. I never had a balcony before. So when I got the apartment, I was like, I'm not really going to use the balcony. It's so hot down here. And I hardly used it at all last year. And now, like, once we got quarantined, first thing I did was go get, like, some carpet to lay out on it, like a little turf thing to lay out, a couple of chairs, and spending so much time out there just so, I don't know, just makes it feel like you're not inside at least.
Let's go back a little. What are you watching? What are your go-tos right now? What are you binging?
I've been watching a lot. Pretty much every night before bed, watch a couple hours of television. During the day, not so much, kind of just busy doing whatever, working out, training, trying to take care of myself or whatever. But yeah, definitely at night after dinner, kind of just chill and just watch a couple hours. I watched the Star Wars. I never really seen all the Star Wars all the way through, so kind of did that. Tiger King, of course, everybody's watching that. We did Euphoria on HBO. That was kind of cool. That was a little bit different. That's kind of where we've been at.
Nice. Cool. And anything else? You got any third ones? Any specific food, cooking in general?
Cooking, but I'm not a great cook. I'm just, I'll cook often, but it's just, it's pretty plain and just kind of gets the job done. And no, other than that, I need to get a new book. That's what I need to do. I enjoy reading, but I haven't read in a while, so I need to pick up a new book. So if anybody has any recommendations, please pass them on.
For sure. Just down the street in Montrose there, go to Half Price Books. They're awesome.
Shout
out Half
place.
Price Book. Yeah, I love that place, man. It's awesome. You get a lot of just secondhand books. People go and sell their old books and stuff like that. You can get all kinds of stuff. So heck cool. Yeah, I think I just got a new copy of Dharma Bums from there for like $2.50 or something. So I got to reread that. That's on my list. Yeah, so sweet, man. That's the end of the journey here. Is there anything specifically you want to say to the Dynamo fans who are waiting patiently to see the rest of the TAP era unfold?
Yeah, for sure. To them, I just want to say stay safe. We all miss you, but we hope that you're healthy, and that's the most important thing. And we're really excited whenever we come through this as a country and as a city that we can finally be back together again, and we could be back in that stadium and hopefully celebrating together a lot of wins. So be good, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Awesome. Tommy Mac, thank you so much. Much appreciated. We'll catch you soon, man.
Yeah, thank you. Talk to you later.